neighbor, this is Curt with eTrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Thule TracRac TracONE ladder rack, and we're going to see how it installs and how it fits on our 2024 Chevy Colorado. Now, a ladder rack like the Thule TracRac can be used for both recreational or work purposes. It's an excellent built rack, very easy to modify if you need to. So you have a choice really with the way this installs of getting the crossbars a little closer, a little further apart, however you really need it. You're going to get a total of 65 inches of bar space, and it's made out of a powder-coated aluminum, which is going to make it lightweight, but also very durable and very rust and corrosion resistant. In fact, the TracRac gives you a load capacity of 800 pounds, which means it can be used not only for recreational purposes, I mentioned, but if you've got a load up here of some lumber or anything else that's pretty heavy, at 800-pound capacity, this can handle just about anything you want to throw at it. And right now, we've got it set up in a way that we've really got it at a crossbar spread that I would like to have as the maximum. And the only reason for it is it can get a little limited with the space you have under the rail and where you need to put these clamps. But these are put on by 4 different C-clamps. So if I ever needed to move these closer together, it's simply a matter of loosening these bolts underneath and sliding the bars closer together. But as it stands right now, we're looking at a crossbar spread center to center of about 46¼ inches, and that's quite a bit. So especially for recreational purposes, most of those require something closer to like the 30 to 36 inch range. But again, you have the opportunity to move these closer together if you want to. Now, the TracRac TracONE is going to come with 4 heavy-duty aluminum load stops for when you do have a load up here, lumber or whatever else it might be. It's got a nice tie-down point, and you can maneuver it all through this T-slot up here and tighten it down using this knob. So that's a pretty handy feature right off of the bat, but again, this T-slot is what you'll be using for a lot of your more recreational type of accessories that you'd put up here, like awnings, kayak carriers, ski and snowboard carriers, and things like that. However, your clamp-mounted accessories can work on here as well. So the first thing we need to do for our install is put together our legs or our towers. So that's going to consist of 3 pieces. We're going to have this piece here, which is our base. We're going to have our leg right here, and then we'll have our tower cap right here that's going to support our crossbar. So the first thing that I'm going to do is go ahead and prep this. I've already got one of these square nuts on there. These are going to go into the T-slot of our crossbar, so all I'm going to do is pop the other bolt through, and I'm just going to thread that on lightly. I just want it to grab on, but I want to leave a lot of slack under there so it slides on my crossbar easily. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my base. Now, the way that you're going to determine which base you have is the front bars, or the front bar rather, this is going to be facing toward the tailgate. The rear bars are going to be facing toward the cab. So this is going to be our driver's side base right here, as this lip is going to come down and overlap over the middle there. So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and take our tower, and with the decal side down, or you could use this little drilled hole right here to determine, I'm just going to go ahead and insert that in my base. I'll turn it over, and I'm going to start threading my bolts in. And once I get those started, I'm going to go ahead and grab my 7/32 Allen key, and I'm going to go ahead and get them tightened in the rest of the way. So, with our tower or leg in place on our base right here, as you can see, it's going to slant inward toward the middle of the truck. Now we're going to go ahead and put our tower cap on, just like that. So, with the slant, you just want to make sure that this is going to be flat, just like it is down here on our base. We're going to take another 2 bolts, and we're going to thread those in up at the top. And we'll be getting these tightened down with our 7/32 Allen wrench as well. So with both of our towers assembled, we'll move on to the crossbar itself, and we'll get that prepped. So we see we have an end cap here that's held in by this screw. We're going to take our 3/16 Allen wrench and go ahead and remove our end cap. And then once we have that removed, we're going to go ahead and take our tower, make sure it's oriented the right way. Now, I'm going to be taking this bar and flipping it over, so this is going to be with the leg facing back to me. And I'm going to line up those square nuts with the T-slot, and we're going to slide it right through this T-track on here. Now, as far as which side you need to put this on, you'll notice that on the underside of the bar, there are a couple of these little grooves. On this side of the bar, we really only have the one. And not only that, but your end cap bolt hole is going to be on the bottom side too. So those are just a couple of ways to determine which side of the bar you need to put it on. But I'm just going to take this and I'm going to slide it over just like this. Then I'm going to take my second tower, and we're just going to repeat that process. So with both of my towers on the bar, I'm going to go ahead and replace our end cap. Now I am just going to hand thread this in a little bit to keep it in place. I'm not going to tighten it all the way down because we will be removing it again shortly. So with everything set, I'm just going to go ahead and lay this down in here. And I'm just going to kind of prop it up a little bit, make it a little bit easier for me to get it up into place. So I'm going to go ahead and get into the truck bed. And I'm just going to lift this up and kind of spread these out as I go. And just kind of work it on down until I got them both on here. Now what you're going to end up with is a pretty uneven bar up here. So we're just going to try to shift it around a little bit until we get it a little bit with more of an even overhang. So what I'm doing now is I'm just kind of pushing my towers out. I want to make sure that that lip is flush with our rail here on both sides. And I'm also kind of determining what a good place to clamp these down. Now, underneath the lip here, which is where part of our clamp is going to go, there are some spots under here where there's some nibs that might make it a little bit difficult. This channel here is where we're going to need to be putting our clamps. Now there's a pretty important rule that Thule has when installing these. The clamps on the rear bar should be at a minimum 7 inches apart center to center. On our front bar, they should be a minimum of 3 inches center to center. We had plenty of clearance up here in the front. I'm going to expect that here in the back. And as I'm feeling under here, this might be a good place to put it. So to line up, the back of our edge, or back of our foot here is going to be right on the edge of our stake pocket. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and then we'll start clamping it down. So the next thing we do is we put our shims underneath our feet right here. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of lift this up and sort of maneuver it underneath there. Get it in a good spot. It's about the same size as our base. So you have a little bit of overhang on it, but that's okay. We just want to make sure that the whole thing is on it. So I've got it underneath there. I don't really have anything extra hanging out except in the front right here, but again, I'm okay with that. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same on our driver's side. So with my shims in place, it's time to put on our C-clamps. Now, there is this little bracket right here that doesn't really drill through or thread on or anything. The idea is we want to put it over this, and while this is coming around the front, the bolt and this piece are going up the back, and it's just going to really kind of create a wider pressure point and just kind of guarantee that this whole tower base stays flat all the time. So an easy way to get this on for me is I'm going to go ahead and loop the top over like that. I'm going to reach under and I'm going to place this where it needs to go. And then I'm just going to kind of hold it flush as I thread this up into place. And once I get it to where it's kind of set, it's not going to fall off or spin on me, I'm going to go ahead and grab my other clamp. So I'm just going to get this a little bit snug for now. All right, so once all 4 brackets are in place, go ahead and go back and get them snugged all the way down. Now, these bolts here, also have a torque spec to them, so double check your instructions and grab your torque wrench and make sure that these get tightened down appropriately. And by the way, if you don't have a torque wrench, they are something that you can, rent from a hardware or auto parts store, but I think they're a pretty handy tool to have around, especially if you're somebody that likes to do things DIY. So, they are available right here at etrailer.com as well. But once you have these torqued down, we'll get right back up to our bars and put on our load stops. So the next step we've got is going to be to double check our overhang just to make sure that the bar is spread out evenly. So I'm just going to take my measuring tape. We're going to see what we got here. We got just a hair over 7 inches. And on this side, it's right at 7 inches. So I'm just going to give this just a couple of taps this way. Oop, I've been a little too much. Double check my measurements again. Perfect. So with that, I'm going to take that 7/32 Allen key, and from underneath here, these are those 2 bolts that we put together with the square nut that went into our T-track. So at this point, I'm going to get these tightened down as well. And this is going to keep the bar from shifting back and forth on us and leave us with that even overhang. And the final step is going to be to put on our included load stops. Now, of course, this would be for more of a work-appropriate type of application if you were using your ladder rack for more work purposes. But this is essentially how you're going to load on any T-slot accessory onto your bars. So I'm going to remove that bolt, remove my end cap. Take my first load stop here. Now this is going to have 2 square tabs at the bottom. One of them can be tightened using this knob, and we're just going to go ahead and feed that through just like so. We're going to do the same with the second one. And there we go. And once we get them in the desired position, all we need to do at that point is tighten them down just like so. Again, if you were maybe using this for, a kayak carrier or an awning or something like that, some other kind of more common T-slot accessory for your crossbars, they're going to end up being loaded in and out the same exact way. So now it's just time to replace the end cap. So we're going to go ahead and put that in here. Get our bolt lined up, and we'll get that secured back into place. Okay, and that's really it for our installation. Now you're ready to load this up with your favorite camping gear. Maybe you have a rooftop tent, maybe you've got a kayak carrier or any other number of accessories that you could put up here. Or maybe you could get your ladders up here, some lumber, and get yourself to work. All in all, this is a pretty easy install and a pretty versatile roof rack for you and your Chevy Colorado. So if you decide to go with the Thule TracRac, and you get it and you put it all together, you use it a few times, please let us know what you think about it in the comments below. Sharing your experience with other neighbors is the best way to get them to make the best decision for themselves. So once again, this is Curt with eTrailer. Thanks for stopping by.